How long did they think they could betray your trust before it all came crashing down? You gave your trust, time, and loyalty, standing firm when others crumbled. They mistook your strength for something to exploit, but now they face the reality they never saw coming. You gave them everything they needed to succeed, a foundation built on trust, loyalty, and unwavering patience. You were the one who held things together when others fell apart. They saw you as a pillar, someone they could lean on. But in their blindness, they assumed you were immovable, that no matter how they chipped away at you, you'd always remain solid. They were wrong. You were the quiet strength they underestimated, a force they couldn't comprehend. The storms they unleashed on you, they thought, would drown you. They never imagined that you would rise above. Each drop of venom they spit only fueled your growth. They couldn't see the way you absorbed every blow, how you turned their petty games and schemes into fuel for your own fire. Their betrayal was their weapon, but it became your crucible. Each time they conspired against you, they built the very walls of their own prison, brick by brick. They thought they were clever, weaving lies behind your back, believing you'd never find out. They miscalculated, spectacularly. When they whispered rumors, their voices sounded louder than they realized, echoing through the same halls they tried to hide in. That coworker who spread false stories about you, believing they could diminish your standing, now faces the very consequences of their actions. They are trapped in the web of deceit they spun, watching as their own reputation crumbles, wondering why their life has become a series of small failures. Their downfall isn't sudden, it's gradual, like a slow decay that gnaws away at them piece by piece. And then some stood in the shadows, believing they could remain untouched by the mess they created. They thought they could control you by manipulating circumstances and turning others against you without ever getting their hands dirty. What they didn't realize is that every move they made left a trace, and in their arrogance, they exposed themselves. You didn't have to confront them or seek revenge. They are now facing the collapse of the empire they thought they had built from your sacrifice. It's not you they brought down, it's themselves. The chaos they caused, the betrayals they orchestrated, are now circling back to them like a storm they can't outrun. They had no idea that their actions would set off a chain reaction, one that would eventually consume them. It's like throwing a stone into a still pond, thinking the ripples would disappear, not realizing that the waves would return, stronger, fiercer, and aimed directly at them. They thought they could hide from the consequences of their betrayal, but there was no shelter from the storm they created. Now they scramble. They try to hold on to the remnants of their illusions, watching as the life they knew slips away, and with each passing moment, they realize the truth. They were never in control. The power they thought they had was an illusion, and it's shattering before their eyes. You were never the one to be conquered. You were the mountain, and they were the ones trying to claw their way up, only to lose their footing, tumbling down into the abyss they dug for you. They thought you would break, but now they're learning, painfully and slowly, that you were never theirs to destroy. You were always beyond their reach, and now they're paying the price, the hard way. You are not just another face in the crowd. You are set apart. You carry within you a power they can't comprehend, a force that shields you from the harm they try to inflict. What they never realized is that their attempts to undermine you weren't just battles against you. They were battles against forces far greater than themselves. Every time they plotted against you, they were unknowingly waging war on something they couldn't touch, couldn't see, and couldn't understand. You are protected in ways they never considered, by forces they'll never be able to control. They pushed, they schemed, and they thought they could break you. But what they didn't know is that when they pushed you away, they pushed themselves into isolation. Like a tree in the middle of a storm, you didn't fall. You stood firm, rooted in something deep and unseen. The winds of their betrayal couldn't uproot you because your foundation is not of this world. They thought they were tearing you down, but every strike against you was absorbed by the invisible armor around you. You walk with unseen protection, guided by something they can't influence or corrupt. Take the so-called friend who believed they could force you into a corner, thinking they could shrink your light. They thought by pushing you out, they'd dim your presence, make you disappear. But in reality, they were only shoving themselves into darkness. You weren't left standing alone. As they pushed you out, unseen hands lifted you higher, putting you in places they could never reach. The group they thought they'd control without you now feels empty to them, hollow. They see now that you were the glue, the spirit that held it all together. Without you, they are left with nothing but the shadows of their own selfishness. They underestimated what it means to be chosen. They thought they could manipulate the pieces on the board, never realizing they weren't the ones holding the real power. You didn't fight back with words, didn't try to seek revenge. You didn't need to. The forces that surround you are always working, shifting things in your favor without you lifting a finger. Every time they tried to sabotage you, those forces countered their moves, turning their attempts into blessings for you. The more they tried to cut you down, the higher you were raised. But let's be clear, you already know what it means to be chosen. You're not here to play small or to mingle with the masses. You've got a vision, a power, and a purpose that sets you leagues apart from the rest. That's why you need to be in the Obsidian Inner Order, our elite program designed specifically for chosen ones who refuse to be anything less than exceptional. We're not a content farm dishing out generic advice. We're a dedicated team, working tirelessly to bring you the kind of powerful, transformative insights that can only be found here. With exclusive access to our best content, secret knowledge like modern manifestation mechanics, and the chance to directly influence the topics we cover. This isn't just a program. It's your 360 win. We're here to fight alongside you against the naysayers, the doubters, and the forces that try to keep you down. Your pledge on Patreon allows us to keep producing the content that keeps you ahead of the game. We never want to take your bottom dollar, and we don't expect support from those who aren't able. But if you can, and Obsidian has helped you, this is 100% worth your while. The link to our Patreon is in the description, and there are only a few coveted slots left in our Star Chamber, where you can step up, stand out, and shape the future of this movement. Don't waste time on the sidelines with the riffraff muggle bottom feeders. Join the Inner Order and take your place among the elite. Because you're not just chosen, you're a force. And it's time the world knows it. They thought they were smart, that their plotting was clever. But they're learning now that every step they took against you was like digging their own grave, unaware of how deep it would go. The favor on your life cannot be taken away, no matter how hard they try. They're only just beginning to understand that when they moved against you, they weren't just confronting you. They were going up against something divine, something far beyond their comprehension. You carry an undeniable force, a quiet storm of purpose and favor. Everywhere you go, you bring with you the essence of something greater, something they couldn't grasp. You didn't need to shout or demand attention. Your mere presence was enough to shift the energy around you. The blessings you carried were not just for yourself. They extended to those around you, touching everything you engaged with. But the moment they decided to betray you, they severed themselves from that flow of favor. Their betrayal was like a boomerang. They thought it would cut you down, but instead it's spiraling back to them with consequences they never anticipated. You watched as they ignored your contributions, dismissing the value you brought. They believed they could take credit for your ideas, build something from your insights while erasing your name from the foundation. But in their arrogance, they overlooked one essential truth. You were the source of the very success they were chasing. Like seeds planted in barren soil, their efforts without you were destined to wither. Your presence was the nourishment, the water that brought life to the project, to the vision, to the group. The moment they betrayed you, they drained that soil dry. Now, all that's left in their hands are the crumbling pieces of what could have been. They thought they were clever, taking shortcuts, conspiring in secret, hoping to push you aside. But favor doesn't work that way. You are connected to something far larger than their schemes. What they failed to realize is that their betrayal wasn't just an attack on you. It was an attack on their own future. By cutting themselves off from you, They severed their own access to the blessings you carried. Like a river that's been dammed, the flow of prosperity and opportunity that once touched them has now ceased. They didn't stop you, they stopped themselves. Now they scramble, trying to piece together what remains of their crumbling ambitions. You, on the other hand, move forward, untouched by their small-minded games. Their betrayal, meant to be a roadblock in your path, has only cleared the way for something greater. With every step you take, doors open that they could never unlock. Opportunities flow toward you, not because of chance, but because you are chosen. While they are left picking up the remnants of what they destroyed, you are being elevated to new heights they will never reach. They underestimated what it meant to betray someone who walks in divine favor. They didn't understand that their actions, born out of envy and desperation, would turn on them. What they thought would bring you down has now returned to haunt them. They watch from the sidelines, struggling to keep up, as the favor that once surrounded them in your presence is no longer within their grasp. They cut themselves off from it the moment they betrayed you, like a tree severing its own roots. And here you stand, not broken, not defeated, but rising. You are carried by a force they cannot disrupt, a purpose they cannot derail. Their betrayal didn't destroy you. It only fortified the path ahead. You continue, untouched by their schemes, and they are left behind, bearing the full weight of the consequences they invited upon themselves. The offense wasn't just against you. It was never merely about undermining your presence, your contributions, or your value. Their battle wasn't with you as a person. It was with the divine purpose you carry. They mistook your quiet strength, your calm resolve, for something they could disregard, not realizing the magnitude of what they were truly rejecting. They thought by moving against you, they were diminishing your influence, shrinking your light. What they couldn't comprehend was that the light in you, the spirit you carry, was never something they had control over. It was far beyond them. And yet, their discomfort with that light drove them to push against it, unaware they were waging war on something much larger than themselves. They plotted in secret, thinking they could exclude you, believing that keeping you out of critical decisions would weaken your impact. In their minds, by shutting you out, they were gaining control, directing the course without your influence. But what they failed to see was that their rejection wasn't just of you. It was a rejection of the greater plan. The divine purpose you carry wasn't meant just for you. It was meant to elevate everyone, even them. Their attempts to sideline you were actually a resistance to the higher calling meant to benefit all. They thought they were in charge, but the truth is, they were stumbling against a force far more powerful than their schemes. Their discomfort wasn't with you as a person. It was with the purpose that surrounds you, the spiritual favor that marks your every step. They sensed something in you that they couldn't place, something that made them feel small, unimportant. Instead of aligning themselves with that purpose, instead of recognizing the blessing and walking alongside you, they chose to resist. They didn't realize that fighting against you was, in essence, fighting against the very source of light and opportunity they sought for themselves. Now, the consequences of their actions are unfolding. What they thought was a victory, excluding you, keeping you out of the loop, has become their greatest failure. Without realizing it, they've severed themselves from the abundance that was meant to flow through you, abundance that would have touched them had they been wise enough to recognize the purpose in you. By resisting you, they resisted the flow of favor and opportunity that was meant to uplift everyone involved. Their battle wasn't against a person, it was against a divine design, one that they cannot disrupt no matter how much they plot and plan. And so the truth reveals itself. Their schemes backfire, their plans crumble, and they are left to confront the reality that they were never in control. They thought by excluding you, they were taking charge of their fate. But what they've done is position themselves outside the realm of divine favor, watching as the path they thought they could manipulate veers in a direction they never anticipated. Meanwhile, you continue forward, untouched by their games, carrying the purpose they can no longer deny. The light in you remains undimmed, and while they may have tried to resist it, it now burns brighter than ever. The battle they waged wasn't with you. It was with the very force they should have embraced. Now, they're left facing the consequences of their own resistance, while you, chosen one, walk the path laid before you, with the strength of a purpose far greater than anything they could ever comprehend. Your presence carries weight, a force they never fully understood until it was gone. When you're there, it's more than just your work, your ideas, or your efforts that benefit them. It's your energy, your essence, the very light that you bring into every space you occupy. You shift the atmosphere, even when you're unaware of it. The air moves differently, opportunities flow more easily, and challenges seem less daunting simply because you're there, pouring your spirit into everything you do. But when you withdrew, when you finally chose yourself over their disregard, they felt it like the sudden silence after a storm, a chill that seeped into every corner of their lives. They never imagined the void you would leave behind. They thought you were replaceable, that someone else could simply step into your shoes and everything would carry on as before. But the reality hit them hard, like a sharp wind cutting through their plans and leaving them scrambling to regain their footing. They didn't just lose a worker, a contributor, or a voice. They lost a source of light, a spark that no one else could replicate. What you brought to the table wasn't something they could measure in tasks completed or hours spent. It was the intangible, the blessing of your very presence. Think of the boss who dismissed your dedication, believing you were just another cog in the machine. They let you go, thinking the work would continue without you, that your absence wouldn't be noticed. But as the weeks passed, the company began to falter. Projects stalled, deadlines slipped, and the energy that once fueled progress turned sluggish. They could hire another person to do the tasks, but what they couldn't replace was the unique drive, the vision, and the silent leadership you brought into every challenge. Your presence had been the unseen engine, the quiet force pushing everything forward, and now they're left scrambling in the wake of your absence, realizing too late what they had lost. It wasn't just about your hard work. It was about the way you made things happen, the way your energy stirred the stagnant, the way your authenticity created a space where others could thrive. Without you, things started falling apart. Their plans unraveled, and the cracks they once overlooked started to widen. They didn't understand it at first. They thought they could fix things with more control, more meetings, more people. But none of that could replace the one thing they had taken for granted: you. Now, they feel it. The loss of your presence, your light, the quiet strength you brought without even trying. And they're scrambling, trying to patch the holes left in your wake. But no matter what they do, they can't replicate what you provided. The energy you carried, the authenticity that made you irreplaceable, is something no one else can give them. You took your light with you, and now they're left in the cold, realizing that what they thought was just a role to be filled was, in fact, a blessing they can never get back. You moved on, but they remain in the shadow of the loss they created, feeling the absence of something they never truly appreciated until it was gone. They thought they could carry on without you, but now they know the truth. They were wrong. Every attempt to push you down was not just an attack. It was a catalyst, a force that propelled you into your next level. Each betrayal, each setback, each obstacle was like fire pressing against a diamond, intense, scorching, but ultimately shaping you into something unbreakable. The ones who thought they could bury you under the weight of their schemes were blind to the truth. You were always meant to rise. They thought they were blocking your path, but they were only lighting the way for your breakthrough. What they don't understand is that every act of sabotage against you was the very thing that sharpened your instincts, clarified your vision, and deepened your resilience. When they tried to stand in your way, they weren't stopping you. They were giving you the exact resistance needed to grow stronger. Like roots pushing through hard soil, you were meant to break through, and their attempts only made you dig deeper, grounding yourself in your purpose. They saw their actions as a way to suppress your progress, but instead, they fueled your determination, amplifying your drive. Think of the moments when someone at work or school tried to undercut your achievements. Maybe they thought a small, calculated act of sabotage would make you stumble. They were wrong. It didn't break you, it fueled you. What they intended to be a roadblock became your stepping stone, a platform from which you leaped even higher. Instead of stopping you, their attempts made you more focused and more intentional. Every time they tried to block your success, you grew more strategic, using the obstacles they created as leverage for your own ascent. And now, as you look back, you can see clearly how every trial, every act of betrayal, was not the end of the story, it was the beginning of a new chapter. Each challenge refined your path, stripped away the unnecessary, and revealed the strength you've always carried within. The betrayals you endured were not detours. They were divine reroutes, aligning you with the exact trajectory you were meant to follow. Their attempts to derail you didn't just fail. They highlighted the very path you were destined to walk. But this lesson isn't only for them. It's for you as well. Now you understand that each moment of adversity was a setup, not a setback. Every time someone thought they could silence you, push you aside, or undermine your progress, they unknowingly contributed to your growth. You are not where you are despite them. You are where you are because their actions were the friction that sparked your rise. You have learned to stand taller, to walk in your purpose with unshakable confidence, knowing that no opposition can hold you back. Their lessons were harsh, but the lesson for you is powerful. You were always meant to rise. And now, in this moment, you can see it more clearly than ever. The very forces that tried to suppress you were the ones that prepared you for everything you are achieving now. They tried to hold you down, but you have soared far beyond their reach, fueled by the trials they thought would break you, but only made you stronger. They thought they could move in the shadows, that their actions would be buried in silence, forgotten with time. But you know better. Silence doesn't mean there are no consequences. It only means those consequences are gathering strength. What they didn't realize is that every step they took against you was a step toward their own undoing. Betraying you was never just about hurting you. It was an offense against something far greater. The energy they sent out is on its way back, like a boomerang, and when it returns, it will strike with a force they never anticipated. But here you stand, not just surviving but thriving. You were never meant to stay down. You've been chosen for something greater, and their betrayal was simply a test of your strength, a refining fire. Every trial they threw your way has only sharpened you, making you more resilient, more focused, and more unstoppable than ever. The lessons you've learned have become the foundation of your rise, and their attempts to bring you down have only pushed you higher. So stand tall. You were equipped for this moment, not just to survive the storm, but to flourish in its wake. Your strength, your resilience, your purpose, none of it can be touched by their schemes. Share your story, let others know how you overcame, and stand as a testament to what it means to be truly unstoppable. Your victory is not just for you, it's a reminder to everyone watching that no betrayal can defeat the chosen.